Hey guys, welcome to another Developer Shootout. My name is Shay Scotton, and with me is Danny Burton.
This episode, we will be working on this e-commerce mockup that we found on Dribble. The winner will be decided by whoever has the fewest lines of HTML and CSS. As well, whoever has the most accurate mockup in the end will receive a bonus of 25 lines reduced from their total.
Alright, let's get to it.
Alright, so it looks like I'm starting off with just kind of populating the HTML. I'm just kind of planning it out and using Emmet to see, kind of get my structure started off.
I don't know how you managed to build such complicated HTML with Emmet.
A lot of practice.
I could not do that.
I kind of pushed it to its limits when I was first learning it to see what I could possibly do.
I am also structuring my HTML here with a lot more of a manual style. As you can see, I'm actually going to be using grid in this one. I'm not super comfortable with grid. I'm not able to work with it at work just because we support a little too far back into IE and it's just easier not to.
Yeah, and for that same reason, I just haven't really bothered to jump into it and learn it as I should be, but so for that reason, I decided to go with Flexbox just so it would be a little bit easier for me.
Gonna be an interesting difference to see kind of how each one works out. Got a good feeling about grid on this one. I think looking at this mock-up, you can tell that it's just like super susceptible to being used with grid.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense that it would be use grid. And like, if I was more comfortable with it, I definitely would have. And I think that kind of bit me in the end.
Yeah, we'll see going forward that it does make things quite a bit more complicated for Danny. So today we have decided to go with a mock-up called, well, it's actually just called Daily UI Day 9. But we're calling it the Plant Shop because it's a catchier name. But it's by a guy named Scott Carroll.
Carroll.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really nice, just single section mock-up that we wanted to try out for a bit of a shorter form of Developer Shootout here.
Also, it seemed to have like quite a few little interesting things that going on with it. For example, the nav on the right hand side is horizontal. Vertical. That's the right orientation. And then there's just like the overlapping objects in the grid in the background.
Yeah. That's why I thought it'd be such a good candidate for grid to overlap those things. Right now I'm just kind of getting a sense of where things are going to go by using some colored boxes. But I've pretty much got everything sorted at this point for where it's sitting with the grid.
And just like looking at this now side by side, like you can just tell how much easier it is to be placing all these in with grid. Like at this point I was.
You've got the word lol and the menu.
I do. I was just struggling so hard, like, which is like really strange. Like I'm so comfortable with Flexbox, but just like that and the fact that I didn't really get a chance to prepare before it kind of like really threw me off.
With grid becoming so popularized, we're seeing a lot of the design community kind of designing things that have to be built with grid. Not have to, but like you wouldn't have designed something like this unless you intended it to be built with grid. So I think that's why this is so easy.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. It definitely makes sense, and like I completely agree that is the way to do it. And I'm excited for when it is supported well enough that we can just use it.
Just completely use it.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot of people saying, and they're right to say, like, you should use it. IE can just look like a vertical stack of rows. Like as long as it functions, it's okay. But just from where we work, it's like our clients expect that IE 11 is going to look exactly the same as Chrome, which is unrealistic, but something we just have to try and do, and it's pretty difficult.
Yes, which therefore limits our ability to use new, fun, interesting things that are coming up.
So that's why we're using them here.
Yeah. Or that's why you're using them.
Yeah.
So, as you can see, you're like pretty much there with like the layout itself.
Yeah.
I definitely thought that I was a lot farther behind. Like,
yeah,
I was farther behind, but once I got this side figured out, like, it was much easier for me.
Yeah, you really pulled it out at the end. Just kind of, you did that in the last developer shootout too. You were way behind, then you just somehow managed to catch up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out in this one, you'll notice that there are a couple images different, like the bottom right one, and the leaf is different. I just couldn't find reference photos for those ones, and we just used a substitute. No big deal, though, I don't think.
Yeah. There you go with that nav. I was thinking about that nav pretty much the whole time, and I couldn't really figure, like, my initial plan was to just kind of transform it into place, which would have been kind of weird.
Yeah.
Shay had a much better solution, which I ended up copying right here at the end.
Just you can use writing modes and text orientation. And I think that actually brings us to the end here as Danny puts the finishing touches on it. Alright, so now that we've finished up, it's time to look through the sections and award who got the most accurate to the mock-up. Starting with the first section in the top left, the plant shop title area.
So we'll take a look at mine first. And it looks like the spacing between the lines is good.
As well as the vertical spacing, like it's a little closer to the top.
There's like a little bit more spacing between these two parts.
Yeah.
Which is about the same there. And then if we take a look at Shay's, the spacing between the lines is good, but it's the spacing here and here. Like yours is much more centered.
Yeah, it's directly centered. So I'd say the first section, Danny, is closer to the original.
Yeah.
Moving into the coupon section, the 15% off. You'll notice we used a different leaf. We just couldn't find that particular leaf, but aside from that, what do you think?
So this would be mine, and it's like kind of there, but it's like there's definitely some key visual differences. Whereas in yours, it looks like the overall padding is much better.
Yeah, a lot more space in the top and bottom.
And one big thing, I think, is this line here. This is the mock-up. And it kind of, in mine, it doesn't quite make it all the way to the end, but I think that yours is like right in
it's a little past half, like about 60% kind of through that background image.
Yeah.
Which Danny's is maybe 40% through it.
Yeah.
As well as that, there's actually the vertical alignment. The card is more above the middle line than it is below the middle line.
Whereas in the mock-up, it's like pretty much exactly half, and yours is right on there. So yeah, you definitely got the card there. As for this little section down here, in mine, the line is just way too long, not thick enough. And the spacing's kind of off, like all off.
A little different, yeah.
Whereas yours, I think that like it's pretty spot on. Like the only kind of little thing that I notice is the spacing right here.
Yeah, just under the title there is a little smaller than it should be, but
other than that, it's good. So,
After that, I'd say we both pretty much just got the images, the background images, totally fine. Nothing much to mention there. Pretty even.
Yeah, and then the nav. So this nav was tricky. I kind of rushed my way through it. You had definitely a lot more time to handle that one.
Yeah, I spent almost 10 minutes working on that part, whereas I think you had just a couple.
Yeah.
We ended up, I think Danny's background is gray, the same gray as the left side, whereas it's supposed to be white.
Whereas in Shay's, it's like pretty much the right color.
It's exactly
the right color. And then I think that in yours, just like the overall spacing is like pretty spot on.
Just a little more accurate, and the icon sizing I think is a little more accurate as well.
Whereas in mine, it's just kind of like all over the place. Like I said, I was like rushing through it, but
So I think overall for accuracy, we're gonna award it myself. Maybe do you want to award it to
Okay. For overall accuracy, we'll award this to Shay.
Thank you so much. However, that's not the only criteria we're judging on. We can go over the lines now, the lines of code. For Danny's CSS file, he had 120 lines.
Whereas in Shay's, he had 130. So I got him there by 10 lines.
In Danny's HTML, he had 56 lines.
And Shay had 52.
So I got him there, but not by enough. Putting Danny's total at 176.
And Shay just a little bit higher at 182.
However,
like we had said earlier, we would be subtracting or reducing the total of whoever had the least or the most accurate representation by 25 lines. So that puts Shay down to 157.
For another victory.
Got me again.
Next time. Alright, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
And again, if you are interested at all at taking a look at our source code, we'll have a link to the repository down in the description below, as well as a link to the original mockup and a full-length version of it. It came in an hour?
I think, yeah, it was an hour.
Alright, thanks very much for watching, guys, and we hope to have you tune in again next time.
See ya.